of positives to take from it as well, not least the 5 goals and the clean sheet, the victory, the 3 points, the most important thing, but little things like a first start in La Liga for Rodrigo Goes, who scored 6 minutes into that first start. Very, very impressive indeed from the teenage Brazilian. We also saw another sensational performance from Karim Benzema with 2 assists and a goal to his name as well. Luka Jovic getting his first goal in a Real Madrid shirt as well. You can see the Serbian international just to the left of the rondo there, getting a hug from Marcelo. I think everybody, certainly all Madridistas, very pleased to see Jovic finally get on the score sheet. He had a goal ruled out for offside in this game, the game against Leganés. He'd previously had a goal ruled out for offside against Osasuna as well, so he was knocking on the door and finally got that goal with an excellent header against Leganés in the dying moments of that game. So, as we said, plenty of positives to take from the clash with Los Pepineros on Wednesday night, and hopefully another big performance against Real Betis coming up on Saturday evening. We'll be wary of this Real Betis side. They're a team that have won their last 2 visits to the Santiago Bernabeu. Not many sides win a game at the Bernabeu, and very, very few sides win 2 years in a row at the Bernabeu. So Betis coming to the Spanish capital with those victories, I'm sure, in the back of their mind. And they also had a victory in midweek. They beat Celta Vigo by 2 goals to 1. They needed a late goal from Fekir to secure all 3 points. It was a huge win for Betis, actually, who were in the relegation zone prior to that victory, but they moved out of the drop zone with that win. They're on 12 points from 11 matches, which is possibly a disappointing return for the side from Seville. They would probably have hoped and expected to be challenging for European places. They still might, of course. It is still relatively early on in the season, but they've had a disappointing start to the campaign. You can see Alvaro Odriozola in your screen there. He was suspended for the visit of Leganés, but he'll be available for the game on Saturday night. Toni Kroos just next to him, who scored on Saturday, and he's keeping up his good run of scoring form, actually. Scored in back-to-back games for Real Madrid, having netted the winner against Galatasaray in Real Madrid's previous game on matchday 3 of the Champions League. Well, popped up in the right place at the right time to flick the ball home from a lovely Karim Benzema assist. So Toni Kroos with 2 goals in 2 games. It's only the 2nd time in his Real Madrid career that he's scored in back-to-back matches, and he really is in impressive form. Actually, the German international, just 29 years of age, Toni Kroos, so perhaps at his peak as well as a midfielder, and certainly we've enjoyed his performances over the last couple of weeks. Scored a brilliant goal, you'll remember, on the opening weekend of the season away to Celta Vigo, a stunning long-distance strike. 2 goals in the league for the German, and that one in the Champions League as well. Fede Valverde, who started the game against Leganés and is beginning to carve perhaps a place for himself, if not in the starting 11, but he's certainly a very important member of this first team squad. As we know, the manager repeats that all 25 players of the first team squad are important. They will all get minutes, they will all get their chance, and Fede Valverde has been able to take advantage of the minutes given to him and take advantage of the chances shown. He was really impressive in Istanbul against Galatasaray, and again another strong performance against Leganés. Still searching for his first goal in a Real Madrid shirt, the Uruguayan. He came very close against Leganés, had a really good chance from close distance, but he put it over the bar. But I'm sure that goal will come, and perhaps we will see him score more goals as well. Once that first goal comes, he does get into good positions. He does have a good shot as well, Fede Valverde. He scored for the Uruguayan national side, but has yet to score for Real Madrid. We see Zinedine Zidane watching over here the 2 groups of rondos, the traditional pig in the middle warm-up exercise. Practically every single training session here at Ciudad Real Madrid begins with those rondos, some light jogging, and then there'll be some specific exercises working towards the game against Real Betis. The captain, Sergio Ramos, who scored his first goal of the season against Leganés from the penalty spot on Wednesday. Before the game against Leganés, he received a homage, an ovation from the Bernabeu crowd, recognising his record-breaking efforts with the Spain national side on the recent international break. Of course, he made his 168th appearance for the Spain national team, breaking the record set by Iker Casillas, previously 167. So Sergio Ramos is the most capped player in the history of the Spanish national side, and he will continue to add to that collection of caps, I'm sure. And he received the recognition of the crowd at the Bernabeu before the game against Leganés. You can see there Thibaut Courtois in the middle of your screen, in the middle of the rondo. Didn't have too much to do against Leganés. It was a pretty quiet evening for the Belgian international. He had one really good save to make from Oscar, a long-distance shot from the on-loan Real Madrid midfielder, which was brilliantly tipped away by Thibaut Courtois. But that was pretty much it. Didn't have too much to do. Casemiro there, alongside fellow Brazilians Vinicius, Marcelo and Eder Militao, the Brazilian contingent. A number of Brazilians in the first team squad, 5 in total. Whistle blows and some light jogging to the edge of the pitch, and then they'll come back and continue the warm-up here. It's a 9 p.m. kickoff local time on Saturday evening against Real Betis. As we said, a Real Betis side who have struggled this season, but who do have a good record at the Santiago Bernabeu, and we will not be taking them lightly at all. Away from home, though, they have not been in good form so far this season. Real Betis, they are yet to win on the road, with 4 defeats and 1 draw from their 5 away games. They've conceded plenty of goals. In fact, Real Betis have the leakiest defence in La Liga Santander, and I'm sure that man there, Karim Benzema, will be looking to add to his goal tally. 7 goals so far for the Frenchman this season in La Liga, the most recent of which coming from the penalty spot on Wednesday evening. He took Real Madrid's second penalty of the game against Leganés, dispatched it with aplomb, and got his goal on a night where he did absolutely everything else with those 2 assists, and just a wonderful all-round performance. Really enjoying watching Karim Benzema, who's had a sensational calendar year 2019. It's been extraordinarily impressive, and we continue to enjoy watching him, and hopefully we'll enjoy watching him on Saturday evening against Real Betis as well. Then we've got another game after the clash with Betis. Fortunately, it's at home once more against Galatasaray in the Champions League. So 3 home matches for Real Madrid in the space of a week. It's match day 4 in the Champions League coming up, and that victory in Istanbul on match day 3 has put Real Madrid in a decent position now to qualify from Group A, although there is still work to be done. And after the game with Betis, all attention will focus on that game with the Turkish side. Back-to-back clean sheets, of course, for Real Madrid, having kept out Galatasaray in Istanbul with that 1-0 victory and that 5-0 success over Leganés. At the Santiago Bernabeu this season, we've seen Real Madrid win 4 consecutive matches now. The 3-2 victory over Levante, the 2-0 win over Osasuna, 4-2 against Granada, and 5-0 against Leganés. It would have been 5 from 5 had Sergio Guardiola not equalised very late on for Valladolid in the opening home game of the season. But Real Madrid have learnt from that. They've built on it and produced 4 consecutive victories at home, looking to make it 5 in a row with the visit of Betis on Saturday evening. And the good thing about the result against Leganés on Wednesday night was that it was never really in doubt. Had a couple of games where Real Madrid have raced into a 3-0 lead, but have been pegged back. That game against Levante, which Real Madrid were 3-0 up after 40 minutes, but Levante scored twice in the second half to make things a little bit nervy. Very similar to what happened against Granada. Real Madrid were 3-0 up after an hour, but Granada scored twice to make it 3-2 before James Rodriguez scored in injury time to wrap up all 3 points. There was no such worries on Wednesday night against Leganés. A really professional performance from Real Madrid, who were 3-0 up after 24 minutes, but they kept going, they kept running, and they kept putting Leganés under pressure. So it felt like they had learned from the experiences of being pegged back by Levante and Granada, and they put that experience into practice to good use. against Leganés on Wednesday evening. Let's see what that game against Real Betis will bring on Saturday evening. They are usually entertaining clashes between two sides that really do like to try and play football if possible. Betis under manager Rubi, who had an excellent season last season with Espanyol, taking them into the Europa League. Prior to that, he got Huesca promoted to the Primera División for the first time in their history. So he is a young Spanish manager who is highly thought of, although his time at Betis hasn't begun in the best possible fashion. But they will be confident after that victory against Celta Vigo in midweek, and they will. Let's see what they bring on Saturday night. Prior to those back-to-back victories in the last 2 seasons, Betis hadn't won at the Bernabeu for 20 years. So if you look at the long history of this fixture, Real Madrid do generally tend to come out on top, although, as we said, recently it's Betis who have had the upper hand. Real Madrid have had some big wins in Seville, by the way, at the Estadio Benito Villamarín. You remember a 6-1 victory there a couple of seasons ago, a 2-1 victory there last season. But at the Bernabeu, it has been Betis who have come out on top, so Real Madrid will be absolutely focused to make sure that run ends for Real Betis on Saturday evening. As we said, a 9 p.m. kickoff local time. It's the late game on Saturday night. It had to be on Saturday because Real Madrid are in Champions League action, of course, in midweek. So every side who play in the Champions League are playing on Saturday to give them the maximum possible time for resting. But the good thing is for Real Madrid that they were at home on Wednesday, they're at home on Saturday, and then they're at home against Galatasaray next Wednesday as well. So no travelling, and that is important, particularly in a busy part of the season as this is. If you do have that minimal travelling time, it does mean that you can recover better and put in, hopefully, better performances as well. As the rondos continue at Ciudad Real Madrid, this is live coverage here on Real Madrid TV of the final training session before the matchday 12 clash with Real Betis at the Santiago Bernabeu in the Spanish capital. It is a beautiful morning here in Madrid. We'll leave you here from Ciudad Real Madrid. Enjoy the game.
The philosophy here is easy, it's winning.
Pourquoi? Parce que c'est le meilleur club du monde.